Okay, we'll talk about the Great Hyperspace War. Hyperspace has always been a means of dealing death to distant enemies, but in 5000 BBY it finally lent its name to a pan-galactic conflict, the Great Hyperspace War. It pitted the Republic and its Jedi defenders against the Empire of Dark Force users, and two hyperspace trailblazers in the wrong place at the wrong time triggered the conflict entirely by accident. A prelude to the Great Hyperspace War, the Unification Wars, saw the legendary Empress Teta squash a local insurgency and conquer all 7 planets of the Koros system. The system itself lies directly south of Coruscant within the outermost shell of the stellar jumble that is the deep core. Early Coruscanti explorers reached the system via generation ships, discovering the carbonite ore overflowing on all 7 planets. The subsequent invention of the carbon freezing process spawned both sleeper ships and an active trade in spice for preservation and medicinal purposes. Over the millennia, Coruscant established the modern Koros trunk line and an S-thread boosted hyperspace corridor running directly at Koros Major. The line, also known as the Carbonite Pipeline, ferried trillions of tons of carbonite to the growing Republic and triggered an exploration boom as hyperspace trailblazers turned their attention from the rim to the suddenly promising deep core. Despite Coruscant's nominal control of the Koros mines, claim jumpers abounded. Supreme Chancellor Fatum eventually deeded the system to the Teta aristocrats, a scandalous case of influence trading that ultimately brought down this administration. But the spoiled nobles turned a blind eye to carbonite smuggling until the ascensions of Empress Teta in 5010 BBY. Teta's unification wars, hailed on Coruscant as long overdue return to law and order, crushed all non-government mining settlements in a one-sided conflict marked by a sometimes shocking brutality. In subsequent years, the Koros system would come to be known as the Empress Teta system. After Empress Teta declared victory in the Unification Wars, brother and sister hyperspace mappers Gavin and Jory Darrigan stumbled across one of the most remarkable hyperlanes of the Old Republic era. The two made a long blind jump from Koros Major in their ship Starbreaker 12, winding up at Corbin in an uncharted space near the galactic rim, a statistically impossible feat enabled only through the siblings' unconscious use of the Force. Their route, dubbed the Darrigan Trail, allowed passage directly from the deep core to the Sith space. Following the arrival of the Dark Jedi exiles in 6900 BBY, the Sith Empire had become a force-using macrosity, I don't know how you say it, but led by a cabal of Sith Lords and a single reigning Dark Lord. Ruled by militarism and a reverence for the dead, Sith society existed in a state of perpetual conflict as rival Sith Lords raised private armies in their efforts to unseat the reigning Dark Lord. Most inhabitants lived meager, caste-structured lives, toiling to build their rulers' tombs or dying by the millions in innumerable internecine wars, whatever that is. Travel between the Sith Empire and Republic had been rare, as the Sith Lords were preoccupied with making war against one another and cowing other civilizations in their stellar neighborhood. Nor were the Dark Jedi the first outsiders to intermingle with the Sith. As far back as 8000 BBY, humans and other Republic species fled the excesses of the Tapani dynastic era and wound up in Sith space. Yet the hyperspace breakwater known as the Stygian caldera, a sunken ring in the hyperspatial fabric making navigation devilishly difficult, kept the Empire sheltered. Inscribed within the caldera's rim by the looping hyperlane called the Nashbelphia, which linked the 5 sacred Sith planets Zios, the Empire's capital, Cardelba, Reg, Crayus, and Corbin. Hundreds of lesser worlds fell under Zios' sway, including industrial Koriz, Iri, Droman Kos, ambitious Chodas, battle-scarred Ashes Ray, and the distant world of Malachor. Despite its small size, the Sith Empire had both wealth and might. It also possessed a third dangerous quality, bloodlust. One of the Darragons announced their presence on Corbin. Dark Lord Nagasato decreed that the time was right for subjugation of Republic space. He assembled a vast invasion force despite spotty intelligence on his enemy's makeup and roared back down the Darragon Trail. The Sith fleet arrived in the Koros system, where it surprised Imperata's exhausted armies and initiated the Great Hyperspace War. Nagasato's forces could have never defeated the entire Republic Navy. Sato instead relied on surprise to carry the day. Knowing that if he embroiled the Sith Empire in a distant war, it would blunt the plotting of his rival Ludo Kresh back home, and for a time the race succeeded beyond Sato's imaginings. The Koros system buckled under the Sith might, and Sato's navy erupted from the Koros trunk line to engulf the Republic shipyards of Poros, then to Coruscant, Caecilius, Metallus, Basilisk, and as far as Shawkin. Defenders struggled against the strange invaders who wielded weapons of alien design. A Sith landing force in Coruscant's legislative district succeeded in forcing the battle right up to the steps of Senate Hall, where Jedi defenders, lightsabers drawn, stood shoulder to shoulder as a last-ditch barricade. The Hyperspace War ended as suddenly as it started. The Jedi discovered that their enemies' numbers had been artificially boosted due to the presence of an illusory ghost forces created by Sith magic. Emboldened by this revelation and armed with reinforcements from the naval base at Annexus, the Republic forced the Sith Armada back to its beachhead at Course Major. At last, confronted by the Republic near the unstable red supergiant Primus Golud, Nagasato fled back to the Sith Empire. There he found that Ludo Kresh had seized power in his absence, and the two rival Sith fleets clashed in a contest of pride. Kresh perished aboard his flagship while Setao escaped just ahead of a Republic pursuit group that had followed him up the Darragon Trail. Sato fled to the Denari binary stars, wiping out his pursuit by igniting both stellar masses in a force-triggered supernova. His ship touched down in the jungles of Yavin 4, where Sato's retainers, Sith members of the Masasi warrior caste, eventually populated the Green Moon with their offspring. Supreme Chancellor Ultimo subsequently ordered an invasion of Sith space. The Sith Empire, already in turmoil, followed the death of Ludo Kresh, could not withstand the onslaught of hundreds of warships, pierced the veil of the Stygian caldera. When it became clear that the surrender was the only option, acting Dark Lord Shardar Dakon ordered his warriors into suicide attacks against the invading fleet, inflicting heavy casualties and forcing the Republic into a temporary retreat. The Republic eventually won the war, aided by the fact that many low-caste Sith killed themselves in ritualistic fashion. The Sith Lords disappeared to haunts on Pajun and Thule, while others built up a new empire in the unknown regions. Elsewhere, on a remote world such as Kesh, shipwrecked survivors of the war gave up hope of rescue, but kept the traditions of the Sith alive for future generations.